Well, hey guys, comment below. Are you waiting to get in to see a dermatologist? Does it seem like it's taking forever? We're going to talk about it in this video. But before we do, give it a thumbs up if you like skincare content from a board certified dermatologist, and be sure you're subscribed and you have your bell notifications on. That way you know as soon as my videos go live. In my videos, I'm always emphasizing, please see a board certified dermatologist. If you have a skin problem, don't go online and try and self-diagnose. And whatever you do, don't try and self-treat things. This can definitely lead you down a path where you end up far worse off than you ever would have been had you not just gone and seen a dermatologist. Sounds easy, sounds straightforward, but I am not completely blind to the fact that it is very difficult to get in to see a dermatologist. A recent study came out actually showing that the wait time to get in to see a doctor for the first time as a new patient has increased quite a bit since prior surveys done in 2017. 4 specialties in particular saw a noticeable increase in wait time for new patients in comparison to 2017. Cardiologists, orthopedic surgeons, OBGYNs, and dermatologists. Across these 4 specialties, there's an average increase of 8% in the amount of days it takes to get in to see one of these providers for the first time. This survey looked at 15 metropolitan areas throughout the US. Los Angeles, New York City, Seattle, Houston, Dallas, San Diego, Miami, Detroit, Portland, Boston, as well as a few others. 15 major cities. Not only did the time that it takes to schedule an appointment as a new patient increase by 8% in comparison to 2017, but in comparison to 2004, it increased by 24%. When it comes to your health, time is of the essence in a lot of situations. Just speaking about dermatology, skin problems, the longer you wait, it can definitely be tricky once you finally do get in to see a dermatologist, because a lot of things change. There are a lot of skin conditions that come and go. For example, hives come and go. They don't stick around. You may have a temporary improvement only to have them recur. And during this wait time, it can be very distressing. Certain skin conditions, not only are they psychologically devastating to go through, you're going through your life and people are like,
why is your face red? What is that bump on your nose? Why is your hair seemingly thinning? What's going on with your hairline?
You inevitably are going to get some of these ignorant comments about your appearance. That can be incredibly isolating, distressing, and it can impact your performance at work. For example, studies show that women who deal with acne, they feel less confident in their role in their job, and they feel like they are discriminated against because of their acne and perceived as being too young and too immature to handle the responsibilities that come with their job. It's ridiculous, but it is true. This does happen to people who are coping with skin conditions. Speaking of bumps on your face or other body sites, let's not forget skin cancer. The longer you go with a skin cancer undiagnosed, that means when it finally is diagnosed, you're gonna have to have more involved treatment. It's gonna be more expensive to treat potentially. And so time is very important. The average number of days a patient had to wait for an appointment as a new patient was 26 days in New York City, Los Angeles, and Seattle. Those are major metropolitan areas with a very high physician number per capita. 26 days currently, as opposed to 24.1 days in 2017. And 21 days in 2004. However, it differs a lot depending on the specialty. For example, OBGYN, 31.4 days. That is an increase of 19% up from 2017. And OBGYN, obstetrics and gynecology. Cardiologists, those are the heart doctors. The number of days it takes to get in to see a cardiologist for the first time, 26.6 days. Orthopedic surgeons, it takes about 16.9 days to get in as a new patient. That is up 48% from 2017. The specialty with the longest wait time to get in as a new patient is dermatology. 34.5 days it takes to get in as a new patient to see a dermatologist. That is up Actually, only 7% from 2017. So it's not nearly as striking a jump as some of these other specialties, but it is a large delay in the time for soliciting an appointment to the time you actually see the dermatologist, which again, a lot of dermatologic conditions, they are very distressing to cope with. They can impact your sleep. If you are waking up in the night very itchy, say again, you're dealing with hives, or maybe you have a rash for the first time. Maybe you've recently been sick and you develop a rash. This happens a lot with certain viral illnesses, and the rash can be very itchy, it can be very uncomfortable. And guess what? A lot of these rashes spontaneously resolve. So you kind of are going at it alone for a while, and by the time you get in to see the dermatologist, the rash has resolved and you are left without any answers. There's nothing for the dermatologist to really look at that is active. They're just going off of your history at that point, so you are left with no answer. And for you as a patient, that can be very, very distressing, because you're sitting there wondering, like, is this going to come back? Was it something I was exposed to? Was it mold? Was it this? Was it that? And you may not necessarily even make the connection that you had been sick previously, because there can be a delay in the time in which these rashes appear from a prior illness. And so you may not make that connection, or it could be something that you're being exposed to off and on, a contact dermatitis. And maybe you are removed from that contact allergen, the rash resolves, you get in to see a dermatologist, there's nothing there, you're feeling like they're looking at you like you're crazy, even though we see this all the time where patients make an appointment and then by the time they see us, there's nothing to look at, so we don't think you're crazy. But anyways, you feel very defeated. One thing that was interesting to me is that the amount of days that it takes to get in to see a dermatologist varies a lot depending on what city that you live in. Portland, it takes 84 days to see a dermatologist as a new patient. I think Portland was pretty bad in terms of wait time for a few other specialties as well. Whereas if you live in Philly, the city of brotherly love, it's an average of 9 days. Not too bad. This survey demonstrated pretty much across the board, majority of specialties showing an increase in the number of days it takes to get in to see a provider as a new patient. The exception being family medicine. Family medicine actually saw a decrease in the number of days it takes to get in to see a family medicine doctor for the first time. Now, one potential explanation is that there is an increase in telemedicine services, direct-to-consumer services that a lot of patients, especially those who are, younger, they are more interested in. They don't want to not only wait to get in to see a doctor, but they don't want to, their schedules are very busy. They like the convenience of being able to go online to some sort of telehealth platform and access a primary care service that way. So that's a great thing for, random little colds and flus and sorts of things are amenable to that kind of thing. But are you really developing a rapport and a relationship with somebody who is your doctor? Those things are kind of one and done for the most part, although, in some cases there is some continuity there. But when we're talking about that physician-patient relationship, it's kind of become less important to the younger generation. And that may sound like not such a big deal, but if you think about it, if something changes in your health, you become acutely ill, it's really valuable to have somebody who knows you very well and knows your medical history. And that's really what family medicine is, there to be the primary go-to person. Why are wait times to get in to see a doctor, whether it be a dermatologist or some of these other specialists that I mentioned, why is the wait time as a new patient increasing? Simple, likely due to supply versus demand. For a long time, there have been looming projections regarding physician shortages. Why? Well, we have an aging population. The number of people over the age of 65 is increasing and our lifespan is increasing. So this brings with it an increased demand for healthcare. The longer you live, the more healthcare services you're going to need. People are living longer, they're living through different types of cancers. In the case of dermatology, we're talking about skin cancers. They tend to appear first in middle age and an increasing number of them appear the longer you are on this planet. Having one skin cancer means you are at a high likelihood of developing another. So you can imagine, with a population of people over the age of 65 increasing, living longer, that's a lot more skin cancers, a lot more demand for dermatologists. The number of dermatologists maybe is not meeting this increase in demand enough to not only handle that, but to take care of all of the other dermatologic needs, hence an increase in the amount of days needed before you can actually get in to see a derm. The Association of American Medical Colleges, or the AAMC, they put out a report predicting shortages. Now, for primary care doctors, that's family medicine, pediatrics, geriatric medicine, it's estimated that we are going to fall 48,000 physicians short in the year 2034. For more specialized physicians, specialty physicians, it's estimated that we're going to fall short in the number of physicians required to meet the demands, the increasing demands, by about 77,000 physicians in 2034. So basically, not enough docs to meet the increased demand of an aging population. The number of people over the age of 65 in the United States is expected to be about 42.4% in the year 2034. So that is a big uptick in people over the age of 65 who are expected to live longer than years past. And as a result, they're living through multiple cancers, they're living through multiple cardiac stents in the case of cardiology, even eventually, going on to require bypass. That's just a lot more demand on the healthcare system. The longer you exist on this planet, the greater the likelihood that you're going to need healthcare services, that you're going to develop a health complication. It's just a fact of life. And the fact that we are living a long time, it means that this aging population is going to require a lot more attention from physicians, and we simply don't have the physician workforce needed to meet the demands of the aging population. And that is trickling in, and we're seeing that as an increase in number of days it's taking over time to get in to see a doctor as a new patient. During that time of the pandemic with the stay-at-home orders, where people were not necessarily going into a dermatologist to have a spot or a mole evaluated, where people weren't seeing patients as much in the office, what ended up happening is that a lot of skin cancers went undiagnosed. And a lot of dermatologists, if you talk to them, they will tell you that they are seeing more melanomas, they're seeing more skin cancers, more advanced skin cancers, likely because of that delay in diagnosis. This impacts everybody, but who it impacts the most are the uninsured, the poor, and those who live in rural areas. This study was done in metropolitan areas with a very high number of physicians per capita. So you can only imagine that if you live in a rural area, a small town, far removed from a major city, it's an even greater wait time to get in to see your local specialist, if you have one in your area. So the number of slots for medical students may be increasing, meaning we're gonna have more medical students, more people graduating from medical school. That may sound like a solution, but it's not, because unfortunately, the number of residency training slots is not increasing to match that. So what you then have is an increased number of people who have a medical degree, but they can't get the required training in order to obtain a license to actually practice. And if you weren't aware, here in the States, getting a medical degree, it is expensive. It is very, very expensive. The average debt of a graduating medical student is around $200,000 by conservative estimates. Very limited number of dermatology residency slots available for this increased interest in people wanting to go into dermatology. I found this survey telling, as it highlights the issue around physician shortages, which you can see trickling down into the number of days it takes to actually get in to see a physician for the first time, especially in fields like dermatology, orthopedic surgery, OBGYN, and cardiology. Throughout my channel, I always emphasize in videos, see a board-certified dermatologist. Don't self-diagnose, don't try and self-treat. It's not the best thing for you. It can be harmful. don't go on the internet. And now that we have TikTok messing everybody up, you know, now more than ever, I want to emphasize to you guys that if you have a skin problem, please see a board certified dermatologist. However, I always feel like, especially as I'm going back and editing my videos, like that it comes across, I don't know, tone deaf, whatever you want to call it. Like, does she not realize that if we could, we would? I emphasize that because it's the right thing to say. It's the wrong thing to suggest that people take matters into their own hands. We see a lot of harm from that. You know, for example, those skin tag removal devices. We see harm from people trying to do that themselves. The FDA has even issued a warning against doing that. It can be pretty harmful. Things that you wouldn't think are necessarily that dangerous to try at home, they actually can end up leading to pretty adverse health outcomes. But it can be very tempting in this climate where there is such a delay in the amount of time it takes to get in to see a physician. And that delay is very much dependent on where you live, you know, what city you live in, or if you live in a rural area, it is definitely felt a lot harder in those areas. You're definitely going to feel the pressures of that a lot greater, and I'm not ignorant to that. And for those who are uninsured, it's even worse. It's even worse. This is a population already vulnerable to delays in diagnosis, and it's only going to get worse with impending physician shortages. You know, if you are waiting to see a dermatologist and you have a skin problem, I do suggest taking photographs of the problem. That certainly can be helpful in the long run, especially if by the time you get in to see them as a new patient, the problem has resolved. Call every day. Believe it or not, a lot of people cancel their appointments. Call every day, be very persistent, ask, is there an opening? Is there an opening? Don't just rely on what you were told 2 weeks ago, because there is a chance that there is an opening on a given day if you just call. So be persistent, call. That would be my other tip. If you already have a primary care doctor, I do also suggest giving them a call, going in to see them, because either they can get you in as a referral, showing, you know, the photographs and things may push things along further. I want to hear from you guys though in the comments. Have you tried to get in to see a dermatologist as a new patient in the last year? What was that like? How many days did it take? Weeks, months? And are you probably maybe even still waiting to get in? It can be very frustrating. I will emphasize, I don't suggest attempting to self-diagnose, attempting to self-treat, or following random advice from people online. With the internet, people are gonna wanna give their opinion on everything, and it can be tempting to go on one of these sites like Reddit or other websites where people are dealing with things like hair loss, and it can feel like a very supportive community, and it can feel like people resonate with what you're dealing with, and that can be great for support. But you can also get a lot of misinformation on these sites. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I hope this video was informative. If you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.